Picture working a job where your task was setting bowling pins by hand, or one where you risked your neck guiding logs downstream. Today, we're looking back at 10 unusual occupations from the 1900s that simply don't exist anymore. Pinsetter. Before machines took over the task, bowling alleys relied on workers, called pinsetters, to put the pins back in place after every turn. These employees had to quickly clear away knocked-down pins and reposition new ones for the next bowler. The role was especially common among teenage boys and young men looking to earn some extra cash. That all changed in 1936 when Gottfried Schmidt built the first mechanical pinsetter. As these machines spread, they proved both quicker and more consistent than human workers. Beyond making alleys run more smoothly, the mechanical pinsetter also helped turn bowling into a widely enjoyed pastime around the globe. By the 1950s, mechanized alleys had become the norm across the United States, and the once familiar sight of a boy ducking behind the pins had all but disappeared. Milkman. In an era before home refrigeration was standard, milk delivery was a routine part of daily life. Milkmen brought fresh milk right to people's doorsteps every day, so families never had to worry about it going bad. The milk arrived in reusable glass bottles, which were collected, washed, and sent back into circulation, an eco-friendly system long before that was a buzzword. These delivery workers became trusted fixtures in their neighborhoods, often bringing along other perishables like eggs and butter. Once supermarkets and home refrigerators became widespread, though, daily deliveries were no longer necessary. Even as late as the 1960s, roughly 30% of milk sold still reached homes this way, showing just how slowly the old system faded. Many milkmen worked closely with local dairies, letting customers request specific quantities or extra items left along with their bottles, a personal touch today's grocery runs rarely offer.
Elevator operator. Manually operated elevators once required a dedicated operator to run them. It took real skill to line the car up precisely with each floor. In department stores, these workers did more than just work the controls. They welcomed shoppers, called out floor numbers, and pointed out sales happening on each level. The automatic push-button elevator eventually made the position nearly extinct. That said, a handful of buildings still keep the tradition alive. As of 2017, more than 50 buildings in New York City, mostly upscale apartments on Manhattan's east and west sides, still had operators on staff. New operators practiced for weeks to master smooth stops, since a car that landed inches off the floor could easily annoy passengers or cause a stumble.
Linotype operator. Introduced in 1884, the linotype machine transformed the printing world. It cast entire lines of type in metal at once, a huge leap forward from the old method of setting individual letters by hand. An operator would type the text on a keyboard, and the machine would cast it into metal slugs, ready for the press. From the late 1800s all the way through the 1970s and 80s, this machine was the backbone of newspaper and book printing until phototypesetting and digital methods replaced it. Thanks to the linotype, just a few skilled operators could typeset an entire daily paper, a massive boost in speed for the news industry. Skilled operators were highly valued in newsrooms, since a single mistake in casting could delay an entire print run. Cigarette girl. Cigarette girls carried trays strapped around their necks, walking through venues selling cigarettes, and sometimes candy or gum too, which is why they were occasionally called candy girls. Dressed in eye-catching uniforms, usually a short skirt and a matching pillbox hat, part of the job was being charming and flirtatious to encourage bigger tips. The role peaked in popularity through the 1920s and into the 40s, especially at nightclubs, theaters, and sporting events. Once vending machines for cigarettes took off in the 1950s, the profession quickly faded from everyday life, though a few Las Vegas casinos and clubs still keep the tradition going today. Many venues treated cigarette girls as part of the entertainment rather than simple vendors, which is part of why the image has stuck around in old films and photographs.
Gandy dancer. So gandy dancers were the laborers who built and repaired American railroad tracks before machinery replaced human hands for the job. Frequently immigrants or workers from minority communities, they toiled under harsh conditions for little pay, using a 5-foot bar called a gandy to shift and align the rails, work that demanded both raw strength and careful teamwork. Nobody's entirely sure where the nickname came from, whether it traces back to their tools or to the rhythmic motions of the labor itself. Even so, the job carried a certain respect among working communities, and old blues songs even celebrated marrying a railroad worker for the steady paycheck it offered. Crews often traveled together along the rail lines, and the shared hardship of the work created a strong sense of camaraderie among the men who did it.
Switchboard operator. Switchboard operators kept the earliest phone networks running, manually plugging cords into jacks to link one caller to another before automatic dialing existed. Companies favored hiring women for these roles, believing they came across as friendlier to customers, while also paying them less than their male counterparts. As direct dial technology advanced, the need for a human operator disappeared. Emma Nutt made history as the first female switchboard operator, starting on September 1, 1878, and she was famous for having every number in the New England Telephone Company directory memorized. During busy hours, a single operator might handle hundreds of calls, requiring sharp focus to keep every line connected correctly.
Iceman. Long before refrigerators existed, the iceman had one of the coldest jobs around. During winter, these workers cut massive blocks of ice from frozen rivers and lakes, then stored them in insulated warehouses to keep them solid through the warmer months. That ice supplied home ice boxes, the forerunners of the modern fridge, keeping food from spoiling. Delivering ice required specialized tools like heavy saws and tongs to move the blocks quickly before they could melt. Households typically displayed a small card in the window showing how much ice they needed that day, so the iceman knew exactly how large a block to carry inside.
Log driver. Log driving was how timber traveled from forest to sawmill, floated downstream before trucks and trains existed for the task. Known as river pigs, the men who did this work guided the logs and prevented dangerous jams, sometimes using pike poles or even dynamite to break things loose. It called for serious physical strength, sharp instincts, and a working understanding of how the logs would move through the water. Environmental laws passed in the 1970s brought most log driving in the US and Canada to an end. Log drivers would sometimes spend weeks living out of camps along the riverbank, following the timber for miles until it finally reached the mill.
Before electronic computers existed, computer was actually a job title, usually held by women, for people who carried out intricate math by hand. These human computers were essential to fields like astronomy, engineering, and the early days of the space program, working through calculations with nothing but paper, pencils, and reference tables that would eventually help put astronauts into orbit. It was demanding, high-stakes work that required real mathematical skill. As electronic computers grew more capable, the need for human ones declined. The film Hidden Figures tells the story of 3 black women who worked as human computers at NASA, spotlighting their vital role in the space race. Many human computers worked in teams, cross-checking each other's results to catch errors before a wrong digit could make its way into a rocket's flight path.
What forgotten job did someone in your life used to have? Let us know in the comments. And if you liked this look back in time, check out the next video in the series.